Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namo Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachari Desatarni Srila Prabhupada Ki we are at the third mantra that this mantra is also known as the Atmaha, killer of the soul. We will discuss that these two words, Atmaha. So let's repeat the verse first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Vasudevaya.
Asoya Namate Loka.
Asoya Namate Loka.
Andhena Tamasavita.
Andhena Tamasavita.
Tamste Petya Bhigatshanti. Ye Chatma Anochana. Word for word translation. Asurya, meant for the Asuras. Nama, famous by the name. Te, those, Lokaha, planets. Anthena, by ignorance. Tamasa, by darkness. Avrita, covered. Dan, those planets. They, Petya, after death. Abhigachanti, enter into. Ye, anyone. Ke, everyone. Cha, and. Atmahanaha, the killers of the soul. Janaha, persons. Translation. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Interesting in this verse is Atmahan, the killer of the soul. In Bhagavad Gita, we learn the soul cannot be killed. It's eternal. And here we speak about the killer of the soul. So we will clarify that, how we can understand that in a correct light. Therefore, again, this Isopanisad is enigmatic, puzzling, difficult to understand without a proper commentary and guidance. That now, let's see. We have mantra 3. Stop share and share it. So, first, how modern civilization is soul killing. That's one of the themes Srila Prabhupada develops in the commentary in the purport. So this verse, it's a warning. It's a warning. If one lives in a soul-killing way, without awareness of one's spiritual nature, Without taking care of spiritual responsibilities, one will go to further ignorance in the future and suffer. Without awareness of our spiritual identity. If we're thinking we are the mind, we think we are this body, we are aware of the mind and the body, which are material elements, but not of the soul. And that's unfortunate. So we heard the invocation, the principle, the complete Krishna is the complete whole, and everything that comes from him is perfect. We heard in mantra 1, everything belongs to Ishvara, Isavasya principle. This is Isavasya principle, how to live according to this principle, that in harmony with this principle is explained in Bhagavad Gita. And the way to live in harmony with this principle is called devotional service. That is what we are learning. And living in disharmony with its arms. That means that you have learned in Nectar of Instruction, Atyara, Payashas, Prachalpa, Niyamaka, Shana, Sangha, Saloliam, Shan, Satpir, Bhakti, Vashidat, Vinasati, 6 principles that in which we have to avoid, but because that will harm our progress in devotional service. That we learn also we have also learned in the next verse in the instructions. Utsa Nisyadaya Tatakama Bhaktavartanat, Jnana Sangha Satorgite Satir Bhakti Vashidati, 6 items which are favorable to devotional service. And in the next verse, you have learned about the 6 loving exchanges between devotees, right? And in the 5th verse, you have learned that there are different levels of devotees. And in the purport, Srila begins with explaining, in order to apply these 6 loving exchanges mentioned in the previous verse appropriately, one must know who is advanced and who is not advanced. So that is also important, and that we will discuss in the next verse of next mantra of Isopanisad. These principles we find here also in a philosophical way. So yes, then we have an overview here. Prabhupada says, yes, who is a demon? The Asura. We will hear about Asura. We will also hear about Asura in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. His mentality, his thinking, his actions, his psychology, everything is explained. Not done. So who is a soul killer? That's this concept of killing of the soul. We look in, but what does that really mean? So we should liberate the soul, don't kill it. We will explain that. So the idea or the principle described here is you have got the higher facilities of a human form. In this form, you have higher intelligence. You can understand that you are not a body. And you can understand something about the existence of God. So you can liberate yourself by hearing transcendental knowledge. If you don't use that facility, then we are worse than the animals, because animals, their consciousness goes to the species, they take species after species, their consciousness goes up until they get the human form of life, and then they get a chance for liberation because they are higher intelligence. But if we don't use that, we are worse than the animals, because we are going to hell, to the animal world, to lower. But they are coming up. This is better. So even failure in liberating the soul brings glorious results. There is no diminution. So you are dragged life after life towards success. You'll never lose the advancement you have already made. Then Srila Prabhupada speaks as modern politicians as demons, interesting, and solve all problems forever. So the main thing in the purport is, yes, liberate the soul, don't kill it. The first point here is, who is a demon? Srila Prabhupada explains that Asura means one who is demonic. So if you look at etymology, the origin of the word Asura, etymology is showing how the word has been constructed. Like, you have a grapher is to write. A lexico is a dictionary. A lexicographer is a person who makes dictionaries. That's how the word is constructed. Yeah. So in some cases, this etymological meaning may not be historically precise, but rather semantically precise. It may not be exactly the way the words have been formed in the history. But from the meaning point of view, they are illustrating the meaning very well. Like, we have Asura. Asu means to breed, breeding. Asu. Breeding. Yeah. And Ra, the beginning of Rama, Ra is enjoy, to enjoy. Ramante, to enjoy. In Bhagavad Gita 2:11, we will learn Krishna is chastising Arjuna. It says, Katasana Gatasansa. Kat Asu. Asu. The word is there. Life there. Agatasu. Without life there. When whose life hair has gone away and whose life hair has not gone away. Body is alive or death. That's the difference. So a wise person does not lament for either situation. So Asu means life air and Ra means enjoy. Asuras, they want to enjoy the life air. The life air is in the body. One who wants to enjoy the body. That's the meaning. Asura. One who wants to enjoy the body in a sensual way. That is an Asura. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, those who are cognizant of the responsibilities of human life and will work in the spirit, in this spirit are called suras, godly persons. So that is the opposite, the suras. And those who are neglectful of these responsibilities and who have no information, they are called asuras, demons. So asuras is the opposite. So asura, it's not just a species. Chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita gives a description of the demoniac nature. So in the Ramayana, you have Rakshasas. Rakshasas are man-eaters. And they have terrible forms. But also, in the Mahabharata, there's a battle between human beings. But at both sides, there are also Rakshasas fighting at each side. That's interesting. But in the Mahabharata, who is the foremost demon, it's Duryodhana. Being a demon refers to a mentality, not to a species. So who is a demon? So all of us have this demoniac mentality in us. We have the demon and the devotee in our heart. The demon are all the anarthas in our heart, all the material desires to enjoy that. So if we let us become overwhelmed by that mentality, then we become demons. Demons often go to the lower planetary systems. These are the places where demons go. So now the question is that who is Atmaha? And how can we understand this Atmaha? And 2:17 of Bhagavad Gita, it said, Afinasi tudat fidi, yena sarvam idam tatam, vinasam apyasyasya nakatsit kartamarasi. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So Krishna says the soul can never be killed here. It can never be killed. But then in the 16th chapter, verse 21, Krishna lists 3 gates to hell. Tri vidam narakasyedam tvaram nashma atman. Kama koda tatadubas dasmaiva trayam tret. These are the gates leading to this hell. Lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give this up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. So we'll also hear in the 6th chapter, with the soul, Udaret atmanatmanam avasam avasadayat atmeva atmana bandhu atmeva repo atmanam. With the mind you can degrade yourself or uplift yourself. The mind can be your frenemy or enemy of your friend. So if the mind is full of lust, anger, and greed, then you must identify with the mind. And the mind brings you to hell. That's the result of the demoniac mentality, which we will discuss later. So Krishna says that the soul can never be destroyed. And then he says that lust, anger, and greed, they destroy the soul. Yeah. So Krishna is speaking here in a non-literal sense. The killer of the soul means the killer of spiritual consciousness. The pure consciousness of the soul is spiritual consciousness. And when it's contaminated by lust, anger, and greed, the mode of passion and ignorance, then we become demons. So the killer of the soul means killer of the spiritual consciousness of the soul. Lust arouses bodily consciousness and kills spiritual awareness. We will hear that in the third chapter, where Krishna says, Kama isha kodesha rachaguna samadva masana mapapna vityam iyavayanam. Lust is enemy number one. That it's born of wrath and the mode of passion. And what does lust to us? Avritam jnanam etana jnana nityavayanam kamrupena kantya dushprenanalinasha. That lust destroys your eternal knowledge, your identification with the soul. And it makes you act as being the body, and you want more and more and more, and you will never be satisfied. So that's the way to hell. Of course, Srila Prabhupada speaks also in the purpose of a house on the river. There is a house on the river. What is meant here? Meant is there is a house on the bank of the river. It cannot be on the river. So it's not literal, but everyone understands it. How many words like this in English? I catch a bus. Does that mean we catch a bus? No, we go on the bus. Yeah. So these things are there. But I want to show you one verse in the Bhagavatam, Simhachalam. It is, I think, Canto 11, chapter 20. This is the Uddhav Gita, explaining pure devotional service. Krishna explaining pure devotion to Uddhav. Text 17. Nrideyamadyam sulabam sudulabam plavam kalpam kukalnadaram mayanukulyena nabasvateritam pumam bhavatim nataretsa atmaha. That translation. This is Krishna speaking. The human body, which can award all benefit in life, is automatically obtained by the laws of nature. Although it is a very rare achievement, this human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat having the spiritual master as the captain and the instruction of the personality of God as favorable winds impelling it on its course. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize his human life to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. Must be considered. So that's that gives the meaning very clear. That we lose awareness of the soul. And was Bharat Maharaj felt compassion for a soul, compassion for a deer. And he neglected the spiritual practice out of compassion for the deer. But there is nothing he could do for the deer, Because a deer, you cannot elevate to spiritual consciousness. You have no awareness of the soul, but we can create an awareness of the soul. That's different. But now, then we go back to the next point. Yeah. So scientific advancement has changed form, but not the purpose. So here you have animals may judge on refuse in a garbage pile, whereas humans may titillate their tongues with processed packaged food. Yes, interesting. Animals may mate in the middle of the street, whereas humans may cultivate erotic fantasies through magazines, televisions, movies, and the internet before indulging in carnal revelry. Anyway, we know all these things. So it changed the form, not the purpose. That we see. Animals may sleep on the hard street, where humans may sink into oblivion on a soft bed in an air-conditioned room. Animals may snarl and show their teeth, whereas humans may brandish weapons of mass destruction. They become better and better in it today. Essential pleasure or activity is the same. Humans do the same as the animals do. Most of the advancement comes from funding, defense, and consumer economy, eating, sleeping, mating. We may have high-class cell phones. As human beings, we are still doing the same as the animals. We are not crossing over the material ocean. Therefore, the whole civilization is a soul-killing civilization. That's the point Prabhupada drives home in the purport. Atmaha refers to one soul-killing individual, but now we have a soul-killing civilization. So, therefore, humans suffer more than animals. Animals don't die of starvation because of artificial shortages created by others of their own species. Animals don't suffer from insomnia. Animals don't suffer heartbreaks because of betrayed love and all these things. That humans actually suffer more than animals. That in some sense, because animal life is also a nasty life. But there are many surveys of famines. In each of the cases, there was enough food in the country, but because of political reasons, it was withheld. There's 360 people that in the world, they own 45% or something of all the wealth in the world. Interesting. That despite of all technology, we are not eating as good as the animals do. The dogs, they sleep in the middle of the street. We are afraid of other human beings. Humans are in many ways worse than animals. Which animal has to do a course on stress management? We suffer from stress so much, many fall to addictions. No animal smokes, only humans have these addictions. Animals do not commit suicide. Every year, 1 million humans commit suicide. More people are killing themselves than those killed by others. Interesting. There is something really wrong with our civilization. The reason is misusing the higher for the lower. Srila Prabhupada's purport. There are swine dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. So an animal food can become an animal who goes after food, it can become his graveyard. They are in danger at every moment. We also, we may not be conscious of it every day, every moment we can be finished. The higher responsibility of the human being is spiritual inquiry. That's the point here. They are irresponsible if they do not use the human form for making spiritual inquiry. Who am I? That human beings are suffering from obesity, so much eating too much. So much suffering comes from using the body for animalistic pleasures. Because of eating too much, they have to go to the doctor. That many are getting diseases because of engaging in sinful activities. The mentality that the human life is meant for sexual pleasure is a deficiency of intelligence. In nature, there is a perfect balance. Every species contributes to ecology of this planet. Every extinct species causes imbalance in the ecology. Why is the contribution of humans to ecology so destructive? We need to contribute to the ecology on a spiritual level by living in harmony with the environment and by using the human body of making spiritual environment and not by exploiting the environment for sense enjoyment. So we need to become self-sufficient on our farms. It's a big thing. That I was in Bulgaria at a farm in Iloy, and the food was extraordinary tasting. All cultivated themselves with a fertilizer only carbon. It's great. That it's but yeah, the humans are busy with destroying all the ecology, the entire ecology of the planet. So they are not going back to Godhead. So Papa said they are going back to Doghead. If one puts a little energy in spiritual advancement, then that advancement will be an eternal gain. In the purpose, Srila Prabhupada writes, in the Bhagavad Gita 6:41-43, it is stated that a man who enters upon the path of self-realization but does not complete the process despite having sincerely tried to realize his relationship with God is given a chance to appear in a family of Suchi or Srimad. By simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in a wealthy or aristocratic family. Just attempting spiritual life gives eternal benefit. Further, Prabhupada writes, but those who do not make an attempt, who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkness regions of hell. They are living hellish now and will continue to suffer in the future. Even those who fail in spiritual life, they also enjoy heavenly pleasures, go to heaven, and then come back to the earth to continue spiritual life. We will see them in the 6th chapter. One with a short spiritual practice goes to heaven and comes back and continues his spiritual life. And one with a long practice who nearly gets to the perfection, but who follows the process nicely, which are devotees who are initiated, who follow these rules and regulations, who chant, who hear the Bhagavatam every day, and do service, have a sadhana, they are in the long-term practice. If they don't get it, the perfection of life, then they take birth in a family of pure devotees. So Prabhupada's conclusion to this mantra 3. The conclusion is that as human beings, we are meant not simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of material life which we have been placed by the laws of nature. So after some time, the body dies, we leave this material existence. It is a lost cause. It's a lost cause to try to solve all the problems in this world, and even the problems on other levels. That we will die soon. That's a reality. So the conditions have become worse. We work only on the material level. Spiritual life is the best way to contribute to the solutions of all problems of the world. That was the first 3 verses invocation and first 3 verses, and that forms one unit, I would say. It defines who is God, that God is a proprietor, an enjoyer, and then we have to live in harmony with God and not against this principle. That is the 4th verse, the Atmaha. So this is very, very basic knowledge for those who are aspiring transcendentalists or those who want to become devotees of Krishna. But in the next mantra, we will discuss the next set of 4 verses, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 verses. 5 verses, I mean. Yeah. And the next session is about how to develop spiritual vision. So, any questions on this mantra? Atmaha verse. Yes.
It's not directly connected to the verses, but it's because you mentioned in the last lesson that this Anata Nihiti takes about 30 years or more. And the stages after that will be the same, or
this is explained in detail in Madhurya Kanambini, Vishwanath Bhakti, and in Harinam Chintamani by Haridas Thakur, in different ways, but it's the same knowledge that first we have to purify our heart, and that takes time, because for millions of years we have tried to do the opposite. And it has to become a second habit to identify with the body and fulfill material desires. So it takes a while, but of course, I say 35, 40 years or something, but Rupa Goswami says the process of devotional service usually goes over many lifetimes. But of course, there is much things to say about that, because it goes over many lifetimes. So Srila Prabhupada, devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, why did we become devotees in this life? Prabhupada said, because you were devotees in previous life. At another occasion, a devotee asked Prabhupada, what pious activities did we do in previous life so that we have become devotees in this life? Why? What's the cause of this? What is that? Ajnata Sukriti, unknown devotional service in our previous life. What did we do? And Prabhupada told them that I'm your Ajnata Sukriti. By contact with a pure devotee, we can certainly make spiritual advancement. But there are quotations in the Bhagavatam also, and that's interesting. That is at the end of the third canto, the teachings of Lord Kapiladev. In this 333.7, Aobatusvapatatogayan asishvarivartati namutubhyam te pustapasteshu vorsas nurarya brahmanatsurani hinantiete. Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if born in families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices, and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your Lordship, you must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied all the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. So it said that if you chant the holy name, you have done that all in previous life. You have done tapasya, you studied the Vedas, you have bathed at holy places, and so on. So a devotee came with that verse to Prabhupada. He said to Prabhupada, did we really do that in previous lives? And Prabhupada smiled. He said, I've done them for you. So this is exceptional, the mercy of a pure devotee. But if you want to go quicker and do it in one lifetime, we have to follow Krishna's conclusion in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's conclusion is, Man manabhav mad bhakto machi mam namasto mama vesha satyam te pratijone prayosimi. That says, Man mana, think of me. If you think of me, always bhava mad bhakto, you become my devotee. And when you become my devotee, Madhyayi, you worship me. Mam namaskar, you offer respect to me. Of this, there is no doubt you will come to me. Then he says, Sarvam Prishya Mankam Samvam Tvam Savapabhya Maksha Simhachalam. Says, surrender unto me. Do just what I told you in the previous verse. Do that. Forget all the other yogas. Do that. Surrender unto me. I will take care of you. I will destroy your simple reactions and so on. Krishna takes care of it. But then he says that, I'll give you the right translation, because this is main instruction. Go from text chapter 18, 65 till 69. 65 till 69. So in 66, 67, Krishna says that this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere, devoted, or engaged in devotional service, not to one who is envious of me. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, they will come back to me. Shall I read it again? Those who explain the supreme secret, this instructions in Bhagavad Gita, to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. And in the next verse, it says, Nasitasman manushya sukha shime priyakritama Pavitana sametasma anyapayata robham. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. That's a shortcut. If you want to do it and get it quickly done, you preach Krishna consciousness. And that is in agreement with the spiritual mathematics that we heard before, that 1 minus 1 is 1. When you have Krishna consciousness, you cultivate Krishna consciousness, and you give it away to others, you get it. That is the principle. That's the shortcut. Therefore, Prabhupada gave us ISKCON, which is a preaching movement. Everything we do is meant to support the preaching, the deity worship, the coming together in the temple, that the book distribution, preaching programs. It's all about becoming dear to Krishna and going back to God as soon as possible. So you should not be spiritually lazy and do these things. And then you have the shortcut. But then when Anartha-nivritti is done, the first part of purifying our heart, it's there are two parts. We have to do our sadhana, our chanting, hearing, service, follow the principles. We have to do our sadhana, and then by pleasing the spiritual master, we get Krishna's mercy. And that's the process of sadhana. We have to do our part. Krishna will do his part and purify us and within the heart. And but it depends on our stubbornness. That because if you have material desires in the heart, it's like prayers to Krishna. I want this enjoyment, that enjoyment. Because that's what the soul does, it becomes attached to something. And the super soul noted that like prayers. So we want to be a devotee, but then we want to enjoy also. We have these desires. And because we have these desires, we can't make spiritual advancement. It's like a vicious circle. How to get out of it? This is the way to get out of it. Pleasing the spiritual master, especially by preaching. And then Krishna will be merciful. And when the heart is pure, then you come in the second phase. With a heart pure, you become attracted to Krishna. And the second phase means getting to Paramatma realization and Bhagavan realization. But that's entirely up to the mercy of Krishna. It's not in our hands. But mostly that goes quicker than the first part. But it depends on Krishna. If we have the right mentality, Krishna will give us realizations. In Kali, you will, because when the heart is pure, you have realized, I'm not this body, I'm a soul. But then, you know we are a servant of Krishna. But what kind of servant? Krishna will reveal that to the heart. That's the second one. Good. Something else? Okay, then we can have a break now till 12:15. And then we will discuss mantra 4, beginning a new section, how to develop spiritual vision. Thank you very much.